I'm here today with Maydale Smith. She's my grandmother. So, Maydale, how old are you?
I'm 82.
And if you don't mind, I'd love to ask you some questions about your adolescent years and what it was
Okay.
like for you growing up. So,
Okay.
my first question is, did you attend high school?
Yes.
Right. So, what was high school like for you?
It was the only place where you had friends. Otherwise, you were working in the field at home.
Oh my. Did you have any homework while you were in school?
Always had homework, and I was required to do it when I got home before I put my books up.
Oh my. So, what kind of studies were you doing when you were in high school?
Well, the usual science and math and English and literature.
Was there algebra and
Had algebra, had all the usual courses, but it's been so long. It's been a while since to remember exactly what I took.
So did you enjoy going to school?
I did enjoy it. That's the only time I was really, could be around the people that I enjoyed my age.
Right. Were there a lot of, when you went to school, were there a lot of children that were your same age, or were they all different ages?
Well, of course, we had, in my class, at that time there was 42
Oh my.
that was in my class.
And they were, like, was it all of the ages were mixed together, or was it?
No, it was not when I was in high school.
Right.
When I was in grammar school, they were so small, we had 2 grades to a class.
Oh wow. Okay. My next question is, what was your cultural background? What were some of the traditions that you and your family celebrated?
We celebrated, of course, we celebrated Christmas, Christ's birthday. We had a big time. We were out of school, and we went to see, each day we were out of school, we visited one of Mother's brothers or sisters, and we spent the whole day and just had a big time playing with my cousins, and because that's the only time we really was together, and we had a big time at Christmas. They came to our house, we went to all of them, and we just had a good time.
That's really nice. Or were there, what kind of things would you do with your family members during the holidays?
Well, back in those days, the kids played outside, and for Christmas we always had fireworks, and we would play fireworks and shoot fireworks, and then we would had at my grandfather's house we had a swing up in a tall tree, and we would swing in that tall swing, and we had black walnuts in the out in where they had a vise, and we would go out there and crack walnuts and eat them,
Yeah.
and just talk with my cousins.
Did you also usually receive walnuts and things like in your stocking around Christmas time?
Not black walnuts. We did English walnuts.
Oh.
We got, and pecans, and apples and oranges, and fireworks would usually be in that
Oh.
Christmas stocking too.
Well, how do you think your culture influenced you as a person?
Well, I think that it because I was raised under Christian parents, that it led me to accept Christ as Savior and try to live for the Lord.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful. And what was your family life like during your teenage years? What were some of the expectations for teenagers to have relationships with their family?
Well, as we had a big family, and I was the baby, and so the older kids came home for Sunday lunch, and we visited and ate lunch on Sunday, and just laughed and talked and had a good time. And back then, until I was 12, they didn't have TV in our family, and so they would just tell stories about things that happened, and us kids would sit and listen. It was like story time would be today, or watching a TV program. So we we just had a good time like that and enjoyed every minute of it.
So you spent a lot of time with your family because there weren't
Spent a
electronics.
lot of time listening to visitors, my family, and telling tales, and it would be funny, and we'd laugh, have a good time.
What was your relationship like with your mother and your father during your adolescent years when you became a teenager?
Well, it was always a loving relationship.
Right.
Mother always, we were poor, so we didn't have a lot, but she always did all she could do for us. We baked us special things and did special things for us. She made all of our clothes, and so she did all that, and it was just she tried to do everything she could to provide for us.
So as you became a teenager, you didn't really have much of a separation from your parents. You weren't angry or anything with
No.
them. Okay.
Never was separated.
Did you work as an adolescent?
No, at that time, we were living on a farm, so I worked in the field, like chop cotton, pick cotton, pick vegetables, helped shell and freeze vegetables. And
How many hours a week do you think you spent doing that farm work?
well, during springtime, we spent, if it wasn't raining, we were working in the fields, like chopping cotton or hoeing cotton or corn or putting out fertilizer or whatever we had to do in field work.
Right. Okay. Well, did you want to do this work? Like,
I never thought about it. It was fun. It made it fun. We did it as a family, and all of us got tired. All of us appreciated the other fellow working, and I remember it as fun times.
right. So it wasn't really a thought if you wanted to or not. It was just
No.
something you did for your family.
It was something you had to do in order to live. It was just part of life.
Right. What kind of clothes did you wear? Were there like in styles during this time?
Mother made all of our clothes, and we would go to town and look at the clothes on the rack, and we would pick out a dress that we liked, and she would go home and make it for us. And she was a very good seamstress, and so I had all the modern clothes that my mother made, and she could do it without a pattern, and she did it. And the different styles, but I mean, mostly dresses. I don't think I wore pants until I probably was in the 12th grade before I ever wore
Wow.
pants. But neither did all the other kids that was in school. All of them wore dresses to school or skirts and tops to school.
So you would generally pick styles that were popular in the stores, and then your mother would make your clothes?
Yes.
Okay. Well, were you concerned about your fashion? Did you care about what you wore? And
Probably I did. I don't remember that because I would just go to the store and see something I liked, and she would make it. So I guess she just kept me in the latest clothes.
so you had more of an individual style. You
Yeah.
just picked things that you personally enjoyed.
Pick things I liked, and of course during the poodle stage and the full skirts, we had to have all of them slips and full things that we wore, and black and white Oxfords. That was in style when I was in school.
So did you have those shoes
50s.
as well?
Huh?
You had those shoes as well?
Yeah, I had black and white Oxfords with the little buckle in back, and had all those 50 petticoats that you wore under it to make them stand out.
And the petticoats were part of the fashion because it's
Yeah,
like not just
they'd
a
stand
necessity.
way out.
Oh,
Yeah. And you could tell, you could see on everybody how many different petticoats they had because they would be different colors.
Oh wow! So it was like a very individual thing. What colors you chose and
Yeah.
things like that. Did you typically choose like the brighter colors or?
I did. I like bright colors. I'm a flashy person.
Yes.
You just can't see it in me.
And who were your friends?
I started to school, first grade, with Ann McDonald. She was my best friend. for 12 years of school, and I just talked to her last week. We have kept in contact all these years, and so she still was my best friend. I had a lot of other friends, but she was my very best friend.
What did you like to do together when you were teenagers?
Well, back in those days, in the summertime, all of us worked in the field. She was a farm girl too. And so we were mostly together during school, and we just did normal talk, and a few times we dated together, but very few times.
Yes. What were some of the places that you might have gone on a date? Like, what were some of those ones?
We had in Carthage, we had one theater, and we had a drive-in theater, and we had one of the places I remember was called Jelly's Cafe, and we would go there and get Cokes and hamburgers and just hang out.
Right. So what was dating like during that time?
Well, I guess it would. I don't know, because I don't date today.
You
but
can't compare it to now.
to compare it, but we didn't. You didn't go out as often back in those days. If you went out once a week, that would be as much as you'd go out. And you didn't have telephones back in those days, so you didn't talk on the telephone all the time. You just talked when you saw one another.
Right.
And we would go, when we had boyfriends, sometimes the boyfriend would go to church with us, and but we didn't have a lot of dating back in them days. We were just busy.
Right.
And you didn't have that excess time that you have today.
What were your parents' rules about dating?
Well, you had, they knew where we were going, and we had to be in at a certain time depending on where we went to. In other words, we lived about 30 minutes from town, and so if we went to a movie, then we were supposed to be in 30 or 45 minutes from the time we went to the movie and come home. And back in those days, you didn't have all during the day movies. You just
Right.
had one at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock.
So
That
your
would
date
be
would
it.
usually pick you up and bring you back home.
Yes, yes.
Did he have to ask your father about dating you?
There was no driving up, blowing the horn, and you going out. You had to get out and come inside and speak to your mom and dad, and then you could leave.
Right. What were some of the problems that you confronted when you were a teenager?
I don't really remember. I don't really remember having problems. I'm sure I must have had some, but I don't. At this age, I don't remember them.
Well, I know you said that your relationship with your parents was good. Did you have any peers that had issues with their parents or issues in general as teenagers?
I don't. The ones I ran around with, the girls I ran around with, I don't remember them having any problems. And another thing, as of today, most people are divorced and remarried or whatever. Back in my day, all of us lived in the house with our mother and dad together. All of my friends, all of them had their mother and their dad, and so it was a different way from it is today.
So do you think having a stable family structure?
Very stable. We always went to church and as a family, and they were just always there, and you just worked together, mostly family, because you would be working in the fields, and working in the fields as a family. You came in and ate as a family. We ate around the table 3 meals a day, and we were always together, so that was just the way it was in those days.
So you think having that security at home contributed to you not having as many issues?
I do think that is. I do believe mother and daddy both backed one another up with the way they raised the children. They both wanted us to do the right thing, and so they both worked toward teaching us how to do.
Right. What do you think that some of the critical issues today distinguish teenagers from your time to the teenagers today? What do you think some of those critical issues are that separate them?
Well, I think teenagers today have a very hard time, and I think one of the reasons is they do not have a stable home with their mom and dad together, and lots of them do not know the Lord as Savior, and lots of them don't go to church where you can learn that, and I don't think their mom had. In my days, the mom was home with the children, but life has changed so much that women now have to leave the house to help make a living, and so they're not there for their children.
So you think them lacking that support from their mother causes them to have more issues?
I do think it's lacking support from their mom and dad, but that's what they have to do now to make a living, and
Yeah.
I think that's a bad situation for the children.
What do you think of teenagers in general today, their attitudes, their fashions, things like that?
I don't think children today have respect for people like we were taught to have. And I think that's because of their life at home. They just don't have that support they need it all the time. Children need a lot of support, and it don't just start. It's not just little children. Teenagers need that support.
Yes.
They need to be directed and be there. Somebody needs to listen to their problems, and they need that. And having a mom and dad to listen makes it a lot better when you have a mom and a dad to listen.
Right. So I have one more question. My textbook says that adolescent typically runs from when puberty starts until your late teens, maybe 19 or so. When you were growing up, were a lot of people getting married during that time period?
I got married when I was 18 and a half.
Oh my.
Back in those days, I didn't have the ability to go to college, and so that's what was left. It was marriage and a family, and that's what most people did. Some of them, a lot of them was able to go to college, and they did that, but most of them in my group married, had a family, and but a lot of them in the school that graduated with me were able to go to college, and they did that.
So is it a financial issue that you weren't able?
It was a financial issue that I didn't think I could financially go to college. And
So I know you mentioned that you did cosmetology at one point. When were you able to go to hair school?
I went to cosmetology after I was married and after I had children. And
All right, well, that will conclude my interview today, so thank you so much for your time, and I've really enjoyed listening about your story and what you think the differences are between adolescents during your time in adolescence today, so thank you very much.
thank you.